Food prices are climbing and it's set to get even worse in the coming months.
A group of New Zealand grocery suppliers has told Newshub supermarket shoppers are being screwed.
The government isn't trying to solve the cost of living crisis. They are managing the paperwork of starvation.
Come with me and check out the fucking ridiculous prices of the NZ.
The Ministry of Social Development isn't solving the crisis. They are tightening the gate.
New Zealand is the 5th most expensive country to buy groceries in the world.
Gas prices are through the roof. Food prices are fucking through the roof.
New Zealand used to be one of the greatest places on earth to raise a family. Clean air, good schools, a fair go for anyone willing to work hard. That was the promise. That was the deal. But something has gone seriously wrong. And you can feel it every single time you walk through those supermarket doors. You grab a trolley, you walk the aisles, you pick up the basics. Bread, milk, butter, a pack of chicken, some vegetables. Nothing fancy, nothing extravagant, just the things your family needs to get through the week. And then you get to the checkout, and the number on that screen stops you cold. Because it's not what it used to be. It's not even close.
Come with me and check out the fucking ridiculous prices of the NZ. So that's for one cake there, a smash cake. That's for one Easter egg, and that's 20% off. Are they joking? That's for one bunny, 20%. That's sirloin steak, not even half a kilo. One T-bone for $32. Are you kidding me?
New Zealand families are being crushed at the supermarket. Not occasionally, not during the odd tough week. Every single week. And the people responsible for it are making billions, while ordinary Kiwis are skipping meals, cutting back on fruit and vegetables, and choosing between feeding their kids and paying their power bill. This is not an exaggeration. This is what is actually happening in one of the most developed countries in the world. Let's talk about the numbers first, because they are staggering. New Zealand has some of the highest food prices in the entire developed world. According to the 2023 Economist Intelligence Unit report, Auckland ranked as one of the most expensive cities globally for grocery costs. New Zealand's food inflation has been running at record levels, with prices for everyday staples rising more than 20% over just a few years. A loaf of bread that cost $2 not long ago now sits at $4 or $5. A block of butter that was $3 is now $6. A bag of apples, a carton of eggs, a packet of mints. Every single item has quietly crept up week after week until the weekly shop that used to cost $150 is now costing $250, sometimes more. And here is the thing that makes this even more painful. Wages have not kept up, not even slightly. The average Kiwi worker is earning more on paper than they were 5 years ago, but in real terms, after you account for inflation, they are going backwards. Every pay rise gets swallowed before it even lands. People are working harder, longer hours, sometimes multiple jobs, and they are still falling behind. The maths simply does not work anymore for a huge number of New Zealand families. But why is this happening? Why are New Zealand grocery prices so much higher than other comparable countries? The answer comes down to one simple damning word: duopoly. For decades, New Zealand's supermarket industry has been dominated by just two major players: Woolworths New Zealand, which also trades as Countdown, and Foodstuffs, which owns Pak'nSave, New World, and Foursquare. That's it. Two companies controlling roughly 90% of the entire grocery market in this country. No real competition, no pressure to keep prices fair. Just two giants sitting comfortably at the top, while New Zealanders have no meaningful alternative. The Commerce Commission, New Zealand's own competition watchdog, released a major report in 2022 that laid it all out in black and white. They found that New Zealand supermarkets were making profits that were, in their own words, materially higher than would be expected in a workably competitive market. They found evidence of land banking, where supermarket companies were purchasing land not to build new stores, but specifically to stop competitors from moving in. They found that suppliers were being squeezed with unfair terms, and they found that New Zealand consumers were paying more than they should be year after year, with nowhere else to go. Read that again. New Zealand's own government body confirmed that Kiwi families were being overcharged, that the system was broken, that competition did not exist the way it should. And what happened after that damning report? Prices kept going up, profits kept rising, and ordinary families kept struggling.
The government isn't trying to solve the cost of living crisis. They are managing the paperwork of starvation. Between 2023 and 2025, New Zealanders submitted 4.15 million applications for emergency food grants. But the Ministry of Social Development isn't solving the crisis. They are tightening the gate. Since 2023, the rate of declined food grants has spiked by 60%. They called it strengthening hardship approvals. I call it turning your back on the physical reality of hungry families. But follow the money. When a grant is finally approved, the taxpayer money goes straight into a card that can only be spent at the duopolies. Wellington is literally borrowing public money to subsidise the profit margins of the retail monopoly. It's not a welfare for the people, it's a welfare for the supermarkets. The math doesn't add up. We physically produce enough food in this country to feed 40 million people. Yet 1 in 4 Kiwi children, 250,000 kids, are going hungry. The government's response? They threw a fragmented $15 million at a food bank and washed their hands of the responsibilities. Look at the school lunch program. They handed an $85 million contract to a global catering consortium to drive the meal price down to $3. The result? Melted plastics in student meals, insect larvae, and a major provider going into liquidation, owing $14 million. They prioritize commercial catering margins over the cognitive development of our next generation. Consecutive governments keep trying to fix broken supply chain with tax tweaks and grocery vouchers. They are trying to bail out a sinking ship with a bucket. We don't need another grocery card. We need sovereign infrastructure. We need a system that breaks the wholesale monopoly and pays the farmers directly. I have been developing a structural proposal called the National Food Shield. It is a massive restructuring of how New Zealand goes about feeding its people and curbing the cost of living crisis. This isn't just another policy. This is the physical hardware and power required to secure our food supply and stabilize our domestic market. I am currently working to get this into the hands of the leaders and agencies who can take it from paper to the nation. It's time for New Zealand to prioritise feeding its people and protecting the farmers and producers that make this nation so great. Hit follow.
Woolworths New Zealand recently reported profits in the hundreds of millions. Foodstuffs continues to operate as a highly profitable cooperative. These are not companies fighting to survive. These are companies thriving while their customers suffer. And that contrast, that gap between corporate success and household stress, is something that should make every single New Zealander furious. Now, let's talk about what this actually looks like on the ground. Because behind every statistic is a real person, a real family, making real decisions that no family should ever have to make. Food banks across New Zealand are reporting demand that they have never seen before. Auckland City Mission, one of the largest food relief organisations in the country, has spoken publicly about the surge in people seeking help. And these are not just people who have fallen through the cracks. These are working people. People with jobs, with homes, with mortgages or rent to pay, who simply cannot stretch their income far enough to cover food on top of everything else. Teachers, nurses, tradespeople, the kind of people New Zealand used to hold up as the backbone of the country. They are lining up at food banks now. Let that sink in. Parents are skipping their own meals so their children can eat. Elderly New Zealanders on fixed incomes are eating toast for dinner because they cannot afford anything else. Families are cutting out fresh fruit and vegetables entirely because a bag of apples or a punnet of tomatoes feels like a luxury when every dollar has to go as far as possible. The health consequences of this are enormous and long-lasting, but they are invisible until they show up in a doctor's office or a hospital ward years down the line. And here is where it gets even more absurd. New Zealand is a country that produces extraordinary amounts of food. This is a farming nation. A land of green pastures, dairy farms, orchards, and fishing fleets, New Zealand exports food all over the world. Some of the finest lamb, beef, seafood, and dairy products on the planet come from this small island nation. And yet the people who live here, the people whose ancestors built this agricultural economy, cannot afford to eat properly.
In New Zealand right now, it's a cost of living crisis. Gas prices are through the roof. Food prices are fucking through the roof.
The food is being grown here, shipped overseas, and Kiwis are left paying imported prices for products grown in their own backyard. There is something deeply, fundamentally wrong with that picture. The government has not been blind to this problem. Various policy responses have been floated over the years. There have been calls to make it easier for international grocery chains like Costco and Aldi to enter the New Zealand market and break the duopoly. Costco has now opened its first New Zealand store in Auckland, and the response was massive. People drove hours, queues stretched around the block. Not because Costco is a novelty, but because Kiwis are desperate for an alternative. They are hungry, literally and figuratively, for a fairer deal. But one Costco store in Auckland does not fix a broken system. What New Zealand needs is structural change, real competition policy with teeth, a proper challenge to the land banking practices that have blocked new entrants for years, transparency in supermarket pricing and supply contracts, and a genuine commitment from whichever government is in power to put ordinary families ahead of corporate profit margins. Because right now, the balance is completely off. Right now, a family in Christchurch or Hamilton or Dunedin doing everything right, both parents working, kids in school, trying to build a stable life. That family is losing ground every single week simply because they have to eat. And the companies profiting from their necessity are not losing any sleep over it. This is not just an economic issue, it is a moral one. When the basic act of feeding your family becomes a source of stress and shame and impossible choices, something has gone deeply wrong with the kind of society we are. New Zealand has always prided itself on being fair, on giving everyone a decent shot, on looking after its own. But right now, at the checkout, in the food bank queue, at the kitchen table where parents are doing the weekly budget and coming up short, that fairness is nowhere to be found. New Zealanders deserve better than this. They deserve a grocery market that actually works for them. They deserve prices that reflect reality, not the unchecked power of two companies with no reason to change. They deserve a government that treats food affordability as the urgent crisis it is, not a talking point trotted out before elections and forgotten after them. The trolley is full. The receipt is brutal. And Kiwi families are tired. They are tired of being told that things will improve while the evidence in front of them says otherwise. They are tired of watching profits soar while their pantries get lighter. And they are tired of a system that was built for everyone except them. Something has to change, and it has to change now.